And in Accra and in the studio, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. The John A. Kufuor Foundation is calling on government and the private sector to expand investment in mechanization services for farmers if the country can become self-sufficient in rice production. Ghana currently spends about $600 million annually importing rice despite local capacity to produce more than enough. The foundation says the only way to ensure local rice becomes widely available to all Ghanaians is to ensure tools like tractors and combined harvesters are available to smallholder farmers who don't have the capital to afford it. Now, it has launched an initiative with other stakeholders to make these services available to farmers. Policy advisor at the foundation, Nanama Oponjia, now joins us live in the studio for more. Good to see you, Nanama.
Nice.
First, tell me about what you're doing to actually encourage the production of rice locally, and also the support you're giving to farmers in this direction.
Okay, so let me first of all say thank you to the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa that is supporting and funding this initiative. Our other partners are also, of course, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and Hopeline. The foundation supports an enabling environment in the whole of the value chain. And one of the things we've done is to advocate for the rice associations that we put together, what we call the Ghana Rice Interprofessional Body, to have feet in all the 16 regions. So that is one of the key things that we did, to make sure that they are represented in all the 16 regions in Ghana. Specifically for mechanization, we have certified over 242 mechanization service providers in collaboration with the engineering services department. And we have also linked them, we have mapped them. So if you pick an area, like an operational area that MOFA uses, for example, we have mapped the service providers to this area so that it's easy for them to find the farmers. We are working with people like Tractor to do this. And then we are launching what we call the Farm Crutch in collaboration with Hopeline, one of our partners, where you can have a one-stop service for all mechanization service provided, inputs and all of that. So there are a number of initiatives in mechanization for that. But another key thing which really frames the whole of the sector is the National Rice Development Strategy that we're also supporting the government to revise and to publish.
Okay, so you lay much emphasis on mechanization. I want to know, what role does mechanization play in rice farming in general?
Yeah, so rice is not like any other crop. So if you pick maize, for example, even if the land is bumpy, you can just plant your maize, even though that's not a good practice. But rice specifically needs very even land that has been well prepared, where the lumps are all broken down and it's relatively flat. And that's why rice is special and requires quite a bit of mechanization. And it also needs water. So based on these two requirements that rice has, it's something that requires mechanization. So of course you need the tractors, you need the threshers, you need you also need irrigation facilities to support you in the rice production. I think a lot of the time, if you just buy a tractor, it's very easy to buy a tractor. You can just do a procurement for that. But what really takes time is putting in place an irrigation infrastructure or developing land that you can plant the rice on. And that is where sometimes we have a challenge in the country, because land preparation and land development for rice is expensive. And irrigation is very expensive. So that is why rice needs a lot of mechanization.
And of course, you've also indicated that farmers are unable to afford the prices for this mechanization. So what's the role of the private sector and especially government in making sure that farmers are provided with these mechanization machines?
The private sector can come up, especially when it comes to tractors and those kinds of mechanization equipment that are not so cost extensive, like a combine harvester, a tractor, threshers and power tillers and those kinds of things. But the government really needs to pay attention to irrigation infrastructure because it's very expensive for private sector to do this. And there's a lot of issues with land acquisition and chieftaincy issues that is best suited when government, works much better when government takes the lead. And like I said, apart from irrigation, it's also the basic land preparation. So if governments can take that part of the cost, then the private sector can also come in with the milling, storage, logistics for marketing and those kinds of stuff. Yeah.
And so where can farmers get these machines?
Like I said, AESD, I think the government brought in some machinery, but the challenge, I think the problem is not really the where.
Okay.
It's the financing.
Okay.
So how do I get a tractor? Everybody, if you go to mechanization, there are quite a lot of tractors there that are available. But the challenge is that the farmers are not able to buy this. So the government needs to look at what are the funding mechanisms that we can come up with so that the farmers can afford this. There was the GCAP, which provided some form of subsidy, but I think they also don't have as much capacity because under the GCAP, also with Ghana Rice Interprofessional Body, for example, we were able to get about 70 or so power tillers for some of the rice members.
Okay.
So it's happening, but the scale at which it's happening is really low. And for the kind of yield we want, we really need to make sure that we put in place these funding mechanisms, leasing arrangements, irrigation infrastructure, and land preparation. Because Accra Plains alone can feed the country, or even in Cape Coast, there's land. It's just getting it ready and getting water ready for the farmers. That's where the challenge is.
But of course, with the onset of COVID-19, every sector has been affected, and so are farmers. Now that we are getting out gradually, what should farmers do differently to enable them actually perform more so that we have food security in the country?
So apart from the normal COVID protocols that we know, I think it will be good to reduce the face-to-face interactions like we all know. And that can only be done if you mechanize your farm. If you have a tractor, one person can plow acres and acres on end. If you have planters, for example, one person can plow several acres. Or if you have a combine harvester, one person on a combine can also harvest so much. So I think we shouldn't go back and say now COVID is going, so no. If we want to be self-sustainable, then we must mechanize.
Okay.
We must. We have to.
I'm grateful for your time. Nanama Opon Dia. She is the policy advisor for the Kufuor Foundation. She's been explaining why farmers need to do more, and government and private sector need to support farmers for local rice production. We'll take a break on the pulse. When we return, there's a very latest coming from the world of sports.